Welcome to Ask For It, a podcast about owning your career, from interviews to promotions and everything in between. Hosted by Amit Trivedi, ex-Salesforce and founder of High Performa. Every week we get into the mindset, strategy, and confidence it takes to grow on your own terms. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Ask For It. Today I'm excited to have with me Alexander Verbitsky, a real estate agent with Sage Real Estate and an investor who has turned some impressive visions into reality. He's the mastermind behind the transformation of two multi-residential properties in Hamilton, growing their value from just under $2 million to nearly $5 million in just 5 years. What I really admire about Alex is his mindset. It's all about asking for what you want, taking calculated risks, and going after big opportunities, which completely aligns with what we talk about here on Ask For It. Thank you, Alex, for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Ami.
All right, let's jump into it. So, Alex, I would love to know more about how you got started in real estate.
I got into real estate somewhat naturally. It was through my family. My father was always involved in properties in one way or another, and he also sold properties for a long time in Etobicoke. So yeah, at first I was more focused on the investment side, helping identify opportunities and manage smaller projects. Over time, that evolved into full-time real estate sales and investments, where I could combine an eye for value with helping clients make smart moves, whether they were buying, selling, or investing.
How many years have you been in real estate now?
It's been over 6 years.
That's amazing. And you still love it?
I love it. Every day is something new, something different. Obviously, real estate is taking its ups and downs and beatings in the last year and a half. On the business side of everything, it just keeps you on your toes, makes you work even harder. There's a lot of competition out there. So it's a really ever evolving and really, let's say, it challenges you for sure.
On that note, I would actually love to know about some of the strategies that you use to stay out in that competitive environment that you just described. I know there's a lot of real estate agents in Toronto and the region.
Mhm.
And so I was wondering, what do you do to differentiate yourself?
You're right. There's so much competition out there. How do you sort of differentiate yourself amongst, I think it's over 50,000, 40,000 agents in the GTA. And primarily, don't look at the overall number of competition of agents. I mean, you're not going to be able to sell all of Toronto, but a niche area is what you want to focus on. So listen, there's always going to be a big agent, in Etobicoke, in North York, in downtown Toronto, and selling niche market stuff. So agents can specifically sell condos only, right? Or detached homes in Etobicoke, whatnot, right? I think a personal brand is a key to success, okay? People deal with me just because I am who I am. I speak the way I want to, and I understand the market that I deal with, right? So what differentiates me is product knowledge of the specific area that I'm in. So I started off in Hamilton, and it had to do with clients that were based in Mississauga. That's what we were targeting. People that paid off their homes and are sitting on a lot of capital and wanted to invest in Hamilton. So that's where I got known, and now it's in Etobicoke that I sort of farm a specific area. Yeah, at the end of the day, personal brand is key and being yourself, but get to know the area, be knowledgeable about the market. It's ever evolving.
That's really cool. And how you said about building that personal brand in Hamilton, I'd love you to talk to us more about how you did that. I know you're known for the Hamilton property investment, so could you tell us more about that?
Around 2018, I started paying closer attention to Hamilton. The fundamentals were really, really strong. So they had, great infrastructure, proximity to Toronto, and affordability at the time compared to the GTA. So I focused on multifamily properties that had underperforming rental income. My strategy was to renovate thoughtfully and reposition the units and either stabilize it for better cash flow or resell it for a higher value. Over the years, that's something that we did in Hamilton. Either go in with partnerships for personal properties or also help out clients who wanted to do, the same thing we were doing. It was a great, great time. And then obviously during COVID, when prices went up, it became, let's say we changed our direction.
Oh, and how did you change your direction? We'd love to learn about that. I know for a lot of sellers, it's really different to how they sold before and after COVID. So So I'd love to dig into more of that as well and how you navigated that.
It was a simple approach, right? Like I was selling from investment properties to saying, you know what, it's not viable anymore in Hamilton. And it was more of a location specific where I primarily didn't want to deal with investment properties anymore. I didn't want to sell that specific product. I wanted to venture off into single family homes and selling homes in Etobicoke. So I moved to the area, right? I moved to Humber Bay in Etobicoke, south of Etobicoke, and so started selling here. So it was just that simple work where you live mentality.
And I guess that shows because if you're one of the people living there, you understand like their needs and wants and be able to connect with like your audience and clients.
Yeah, exactly. Like you live here, you breathe here, you have fun here and you play here, right? So yeah, you really get to understand the neighborhood a whole lot more, and that obviously comes in handy when selling real estate. We're selling neighborhoods, right? We're selling neighborhoods and then the lifestyle surrounded in that. And if you live it, it's easier to sell it.
That's so true. For the listeners, I'm not sure if you guys know, but Alex actually was a big part of these two assemblies. So Alex, I'd love you to explain that more to the people who don't know about that. Because I know that was major in building your personal brand in Etobicoke.
100%. It was a really big deal at the time because no other agent was able to, let's say, pull something off like this in the sense of convincing many neighboring properties to sell simultaneously with the hopes of selling to one buyer. Yeah, the strategy behind it, I can tell you like the whole story if we have
Yeah, that
time.
would be great.
Yeah?
Yeah, we have time. Yeah. And if you could explain more about the assembly and how that works for our non-real estate listeners.
Sure. Okay. So an assembly is, let's say, my definition is when two or more properties come together to sell to one buyer. So it could be two, three, five, eight, 10 properties, and they are owned by different owners, right? And they come together to sell. Or, on a buyer perspective, they say, I assembled properties. So they'll buy one and then they'll buy the neighbor, a year or two from now, and then they buy the other neighbor a year or two after that. So they assemble the properties. So that's what an assembly is. What I sort of looked at in Etobicoke, I said, you know what? We have a lot of major streets in Toronto, especially Etobicoke, where we have these older, non-taken care of, one-story homes that, let's say, are sort of an eyesore on a main street. Why can't someone put all these properties together and then a developer come and build, right? So that was my simple thinking of why doesn't a builder do this or a developer? And it's because it takes so much time. And so this is like what I'm leading to of like, I'll tell you like the idea and then what the efforts were in order to pull it off. So I had about 15 assembly meetings. So it ranged from like, each meeting had either 5 neighbors or 10 neighbors or 20 neighbors. So I had 15 of them totaling over 80 properties, right? Over a course of 2.5 months. So just simply telling people my idea and that we should do it with your property. So it was a very like convincing and trying time. I was basically selling my idea and saying I could do this for you. Even though I've never done one before, I could do it for you, right? Because in retrospect, it's a very simplistic approach. You say, come together and I'll sell it, right? So that's the way I viewed it, right? Of course, listen, for those that are starting out, it's a very daunting task to like do something like this. I'll sort of veer off a little bit. In order for you to get comfortable, I mean, everyone, if you went to university, you did public speaking, or if you didn't do that, go door to door. If you're selling something, go door to door, knock on a door, get comfortable with talking to people, and then you'll be able to like sell your vision to people. So anyways, so that's what I did. I had a lot of meetings, and out of those 15, 2 of them agreed to sell as a collective. So I had 7 properties on the south side of Rathburn on Kipling. And then I had 12 properties on the north side of Rathburn on Kipling. And it was just a great opportunity to sort of put my name out there, that personal brand for the neighborhood to see who I am. I had 19 signs all in a row that really, really gave that neighborhood an introduction to Alexander Verbitsky. to Verbitsky Real Estate.
Right.
From then on, I was able to contact over 200 builders, developers, trust funds, hedge funds, all that stuff to sell, this assembly and find a buyer. Unfortunately, the market did turn. The interest rates went up. Developers at that time could not forecast, so it's just really, really bad timing. Even though that it was, an amazing assembly. Yeah, it was a tough time in the market for sure.
Wow, that's incredible. And I would love to understand more about, like, I know you said that if someone's starting off in the business, that they should just go out there, try, go to door and build that confidence. How did you like keep that confidence for every single buyer? Because I'm sure everyone was completely different and different personalities. And I'm sure that must have taken a lot of confidence and it must have been very daunting. So like how did you keep yourself motivated and like energetic for each person?
Yeah, so the first meeting I had, it's something I've never done before. So the first meeting you have, it was maybe 3 people showed up out of 6, and you're like, man, people don't care, they don't care about this, right? And then as time went on, then I had a packed room of like all the neighbors showed up. So what I realized, there's like this up and down to anything, and it's a volume game. Some neighbors, some assembly groups that I picked out will come out, right? The neighbors talk amongst themselves. They say, did you receive this letter from Alex saying, we're going to have like a in-person meeting and we're going to be talking about the possibility of selling together. Like, so all the neighbors talk together. And if you get like a good neighbor where, they believe in the project right away, they'll talk to their neighbors and say, hey, come out, right? So that's what I realized while I was doing, or sending out the letters and hosting the meetings and taking phone calls, is that like everyone is in a different place in their life. They're young, they're old, they just bought, we're actually thinking about selling in the next year. So it was luck. At the end of the day, it was lucky to get the assemblies that I had. But dealing with the specific people, I mean, you're just being yourself. I was always being myself. I said, listen, there's no catch-22 to this, okay? I have an idea, and if you want to implement it, and it costs you nothing, and it does nothing, right? Or like, let's say there's no negative effect on this, right? I would say that I operated with honesty, and I gained the trust of the people that I presented to. I think that's so crucial, is that don't have any, don't lie to people, right? Because they'll sniff that out, right? I acted and operated, the way that I love to, which is very honestly, and I got people's trust. And listen, it didn't sell. It did not sell. I did get recognition in the neighborhood. Everyone knew the name because I went door knocking while I had the assembly. Everyone knew the name, but I finally put a face to the name, right? They're like, oh, you're Alex. So the personal brand was there. I'm, let's say, veering off a little bit. But yeah, like you're going to get those feelings. You're going to get those, this is not going to work out, or someone slammed the door on me. People don't believe in my vision, but you have to just plow through it, power through it.
What kind of like mental strategies did you use to keep yourself like on top, even though you're getting these no's, and then even the fact that in the end you weren't able to sell this assembly? So how do you still stay motivated?
That's such a good question. Real estate, in order to be successful in it, it takes a lot of grit. It's this, I'm going to make it regardless, okay? I'm going to be successful regardless of, this one person slamming their door or telling me that, I had real estate agents that, I didn't know I was sending out letters, and real estate agents that lived in these homes that I was trying to assemble were like, please stop sending me letters. It's never going to work out, right? Like you are wishful thinking, like this is actually a stupid plan, right? And I had an agent call me and like say that word for word. And what I did was, listen, like it doesn't, you just laugh and then you say, have a great day, and you carry on, right? Maybe I don't know in theory, what it is about Alex that, he kept on persevering and pushing through. But like I would allocate grit to it because, yeah, you do have those down days, but you just have to power through. You're never going to have like a whole year of good days, right? So grit. I mean, just keep powering through.
That's true. I guess you got to just take the no's as a no, but don't take it as a personal failure and keep moving forward.
Like listen, when you go door knocking, as I do pretty often, there's people that are so welcoming and like it's almost like that makes it worth it. It's like you get, 10 no's, right? Like let's say negative conversations, and then you have a really good conversation, and you just have to be positive every time you door knock or every door you go to. You have to maintain your level of like positivity, because you never know when that like positive lead or interaction will come, where you could really showcase your excitement and like, listen, as a real estate agent, you have to be excited about what you do, right? You have to be excited about meeting people, so you just have to be on top of that.
That's true. And I guess when you get that one yes, that high is so high, and it can just help you carry you forward.
100%, yeah.
How do you approach client relationships to build long-term partnership?
Whenever you have a listing, you get a lot of leads coming in, okay, through various sources. Mine is mainly on realtor.ca, that someone, expresses interest, to view the property and whatnot. So a lot of it is emails, right? So I have a once a month market update that goes out, and it's something interesting. Listen, I used to always think that everyone had a real estate agent and it's, annoying for people to get market updates. That's not true. Recently, haven't spoken to a client in, like, I'm telling you, the longest time, but I have his email in my market updates, and it's sent out once a month. And he messaged me and he said, Alex, I want to buy a house. Let's go see it. Yeah, so the email
Nice.
marketing, the consistent drip, okay, really does work, and people do pay attention to it. Just being out there in the community, I would say, is really important. Maintaining relationships. Social media is huge as well. Posting houses that, I would always go to homes or condos that have just listed, because I like to be in the know of the market. And you sort of just like advertise it on Instagram. You post it, I'm here, wow, what a great house, et cetera, et cetera. I think the average, person on Instagram has, a few hundred followers. So the reach is there. But yeah, staying consistent. I think at the end of the day is like, pick a couple things that you think would work and be consistent at it.
That's actually really great advice, the consistency. Because I feel like with a lot of salespeople, we
Yeah.
do like A/B testing, but we do it too quick. Like we stick with one, it doesn't work, and then we let it go. But the way you're saying is that just keep doing it, and then the drip campaigns will pay off.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, real estate is like, I would say, on the purchase and sales of everything, is a very long-term play, right? Like anytime someone buys real estate, on average right now, is they hold on to the property before they upgrade or downsize, is 7 to 10 years, right? So you have to like
Wow.
be there at the right time if you want to like get a client within like 3 months, right? But okay, when you want to nurture
Mhm.
that relationship and whatnot, yeah, you have to like maintain contact for like 7 years to get more business.
Wow, that's amazing. And I'm actually curious about that too. So I know you do a mix of sometimes you sell rentals and then sometimes you're doing like
Hmm.
actual listings as well for buying houses. So do you ever have any conversion rate from like helping people find a rental to them buying a house?
One out of every 10 to 15 renters buy a house after a year.
Oh, that's really
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Okay.
So you have to go through like about 15 clients or assisting clients for them to like say, hey, this is just temporary. Our plan is to purchase something.
Okay, so would that be something you would like advise a new agent, like to get
Yeah.
their like start off in the rental market and then move over
So
to selling houses and kind of leverage their like
yes, yeah.
list?
So every new agent, I mean, what the game book or plan book or game plan is for any new agent, number one is join a team. You do not know anything about real estate and real estate sales when you get your real estate license. There is no real world experience. You have to get your, toes a little wet. And by doing that, if you're very, very eager and you want to like be number one, you get a mentor. That mentor comes from, being a part of their team and working for them and running open houses, and eventually, and like seeing their process and system of how do they talk to agents? How do they talk to clients? What is the proper way of handling everything? And they will most likely, if they're running a team, they don't have time for leases. So they'll hand those leads off to you. They say, hey, listen, so and so is looking for a place to rent, take it. That's a good way of getting business, right? It's sort of like a referral program because you're working for me. Do a lot of leases and get that mentor.
Nice. And what other advice do you have for new agents besides that part?
Listen, you have your license. You can book any house you want to go see. So get that product knowledge at the same time. If you don't have clients, lined up, always be curious about what is in your market. If you're in Oakville and you want to sell Oakville real estate, you go see all the houses listed in Oakville. There's a developer in Toronto. His name is Brad Lamb, and he has a brokerage as well. And his advice, which I agree with, is if you want to sell Toronto condos and you've never sold a condo before and you just got your license, the only thing you should be doing for the next month is going to every single, not unit, but every building with available, places for rent, for sale. Go check their amenities out and learn the buildings, right? Because you'll know at the end of it when you start getting clients and they say, listen, I want to live in the fashion district. I want to live in Queen West. You'll know right away which buildings are the best. You won't waste time. Okay, there's no discovery process with the client of, oh, I didn't know that this building was bad, or this unit, it doesn't face the right way, or the layouts are, wonky. You'll know, one building has great layouts and the other one doesn't. I'm going to take my client to the best of the best, right? Because listen, it reflects on, at the end of the day, your product knowledge and your guidance of, wanting your clients to succeed all depends on your ability to understand the product and, do it effectively, right? Listen, as real estate agents, we don't want to go out, more than 3 days, I would say max 4 days to find a place for a lease. For sales, obviously, it sometimes takes months. For leases, what the name of the game is efficiency. Spend 3 days, looking at 10 places each a day, if that's what it takes, right? But if you know your system and process, you got it down packed. If you know the product out there, you can literally do 3 showings and say, this is the best, trust me, right? And your client will trust you.
That's actually such a great strategy. And for the listeners who don't know, Alex actually helped me find my condo. And it was like that. I really thought you're the house whisperer. I said my needs and you were like,
Mm-hmm.
this is the building. And I never heard of the building. But the moment I walked in, I was like, this is meant for me. It fit who I was. And I immediately signed. So now I see what you mean. Get to know the buildings and the product. And then you can just tell your client and then they're going to
100%. Yeah,
trust you.
that's how it goes.
I had no idea you're following that strategy when we found mine. I was just like magic, but that means you did something really right.
Yeah,
So that's
listen,
pretty
at the end of the
impressive.
day, as a realtor, it all also comes down to, we see this stuff every day, If you're someone that goes out and sees condos and is curious, you see condos every day, right? You see houses every day. So you get a knack for what's good and what's not good. So sometimes it's also personal. We have to sort of disassociate and figure out our client as well, discover our client, what their needs are. Do they pay attention to something like this? Because what we think is good sometimes or bad, no, let's say that what we realtors sometimes think is, not a good quality in a building, our client would be like, it's not that big of a deal for me, right? So they'll choose it. You got to understand your client too, right? So that comes out of, discovery, right? Learning about what they do, do they want to live close to work? Do they care about living higher up in the condo, et cetera, right?
Thank you so much, Alex. We learned so much. Just to recap a little bit of what you were telling the listeners, is you were saying you got to embody confidence. You need to build trust with your clients, understand what they need. And as a result, you're going to find them the best fit and you're going to build that clientele. And some of the ways that you're suggesting to do that is literally start going door to door, meet clients, understand the buildings, get to know your products, and the results will flow from that. And I love what you said earlier too was be yourself. And that's what's going to show that honesty, the trust, but also it takes grit at the same time. So this was really helpful. And before we wrap up, I would love you to let the listeners know how they can reach out to you if they're looking
Yeah,
for a house
100%.
or a rental.
You could email me at alexander@verbitsky.ca. Shoot me a text or a call at 647-832-6481. Or if you're on Instagram, just add me at Verbitsky without an I. So VERBTSKY.
Perfect. Thank you. And I'll put that in the notes as well so everyone's able to click the link. But Alex, thank you so much for coming on to Ask for It. And for all the other listeners,
Thanks for having me, Ami.
Week. Bye. Thank you for listening to Ask For It. If this episode was helpful, I'd love if you subscribed and shared it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're ready for a bit more support, I do offer one-on-one coaching. The link's in the show notes if you want to check that out. Until next time, keep showing up and don't forget to ask for it.